Welcome to today's live workshop. This is a series that will be happening every 3 weeks to educate applicants, guide idea creation, and support you as best as we can. On this note, I'll remind you that we have 3 weeks left to submit your entry to the Blue Ocean competition. So let's reintroduce the competition because it's not too late to put together an application. The Blue Ocean competition is world's largest high school entrepreneurship competition that supports young entrepreneurs with prize money ranging from $250 to $1,000, as well as potential mentorship for our winners. There are also a variety of categories that you could win, such as the top 3 winners, the school with the most applicants, best social pitch, and more. And because our applicants and winners are international, participation is impressive for your college application as well. So stay tuned to the end to see how anyone could also earn money by supporting a program. So today's live workshop will cover last-minute advice. We're going to break down some winning entries and open up a Q&A session in case any of our participants have any questions or concerns. So my name is Shivani, and I am a current Blue Ocean Executive Committee member. And we also have another member here today.
Hi, I'm Ishan. I'm also a current Blue Ocean Executive Committee member. I'm excited to help out today.
Thank you, Ishan. So the first business that we're going to be looking at is Universo. They were the first place winner for 2022. So I also want to remind you that you can find the past winners on the Blue Ocean competition website in case you are curious. There's also a YouTube playlist so that you can see all the winning pitches and entered pitches, top 100 pitches, and things like that. So do go check that out if you want to get a good idea of how successful pitches sound like and what videos may look like. So let's dive into our first winning entry that we're going to break down, Universo. So this was the idea to convert any blood type to a safe type O. So their pitch was successful because they mentioned that they had already discovered an enzyme to test out their solution, and they had a patent pending design. So the highlights of their pitch included having very extensive knowledge about their field. And importantly, they communicated in layman's terms to the judges on why the issue needed to be solved and why their solution worked. So this is very important because when you're talking about the medical field, for example, there are a lot of terms and enzymes and specific details that may not be easy to understand for judges or people who are not as experts as you. So it's important that you communicate in layman's terms why the issue was so prevalent. In Universo's case, they explained that there was always that Universo is a universal donor type of blood, and depending on where a medical hospital is located, there may be a lack of a specific type of blood. So it would be very hard to donate. And this solution would work because they were able to provide a scientific research that they've already done, and they actually showed that they were successful. So this was also an example of an amazing pitch because of the way their audio and visuals are very clear, and they flowed together to communicate their ideas and had great storytelling. But there is like a little exception because by no means is this the level for all of the entries to be considered a winning entry. You don't need to discover an enzyme or even have a physical research prototype. Although we do encourage you to create your solution or a plan of your solution to show the judges that you have done your research to plan your solution. So in another case, or before we move on, let's talk about the rubric. So all these screenshots on the screen are straight from the rubric for how judges will be scoring each video entry. So let's look at commercial viability and scalability. The business model makes a compelling argument for commercial viability and scalability. Yes, Universo did mention how this problem is prevalent among millions of people and how millions of people's lives and patients' lives, whoever are in hospitals, could be affected. And this also goes with the impact potential. And let's look at the blue ocean creativity and value innovation. Now, this idea is very unique. In fact, they are the first people to come up with an idea of how you can convert any blood type to O, especially because they also did their research and they did discover an enzyme through their research, which was very impressive. They also did mention that this would be very low cost, which is, again, a very important part to scoring the 5 or the top mark band on the rubric. And finally, technical feasibility. Whenever you are coming up with a medical device or solution, you need to make sure that it can work. And Universo did a really good job because they already showed that their prototype was able to work. So now let's talk about another winner. So the 2021 first place winner was KelpNet. And now the thing that distinguishes this solution is that it was only a solution. However, the entry did have extensive research. So what was the idea? The idea was replacing fishing netting with a new biodegradable kelp. So this was an innovative solution, so it definitely hit the blue ocean creativity and value innovation, the 5 score on the rubric, because nets are usually made with plastic, and when they're damaged in action, fishers, whenever they had a hole, fishers would discard them into the ocean, and this was very expensive and harmful for sea life, and virtually a lot of fishermen would use plastic nets. So this also goes into commercial viability and scalability because the entry also mentioned how kelp would always wash up on shore, and there was a lot of potential to use the washed up kelp into something more powerful like a net. So this pitch strategically followed the presentation of first the problem, and then the solution, and then why it was different. Now, the most important thing to include in your pitch is not only your solution and explain why your solution works, but how your solution is different. Now, this is very important because the Blue Ocean competition will judge you based on your Blue Ocean strategy. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So KelpNet also dived into the science and the financing of why the solution would work, because kelp was so easily accessible, because it would wash up on the shore, and the business essentially could use that washed up kelp to turn it into a solution. And even though there was not a actual physical prototype, there was a design element included in the video that would also show the science of a specific hexagonal pattern that the net would have. So there was definitely a great layer of understanding, and it did help with the technical feasibility. So that's another way that even if your idea is just a solution without a physical prototype, it should still be backed by some research. And as you can see, one part of the technical feasibility is that the technology required to develop the concept already exists and is feasible, or no new technology is needed. So also in their video submission to the Blue Ocean competition, they did mention how their quote unquote prototype would work. So that's also a good thing to include in your video. Now, here are some free resources so that you can make your video. One of the important parts of the rubric that I was mentioning earlier, but did not dive into, was the quality of presentation and the use of Blue Ocean tools. Now, this is very important because the biggest thing to include is how your idea follows the Blue Ocean strategy, because this is the Blue Ocean competition. So you can find templates on our website, and we highly encourage you to look at them. The first thing that we would recommend is to enroll in the 35-minute course, which is completely free. And this will take you into the Blue Ocean strategy, and it will introduce you to specific tools. So here's the important part. The use of the Blue Ocean tools to describe your business idea is mandatory. So there are 3 Blue Ocean competition tools, or Blue Ocean strategy tools, sorry, that you have to be using in your video, or you will be disqualified. You have to use the strategy canvas to describe the industry landscape, the 3 tiers of non-customers to describe your target market, and eliminate, reduce, raise, create grid to describe your strategy. So all of these can be found on the website if you go to theblueoceancompetition.org and you go to resources for participants, and everything is there, as well as the rubric that I've screenshotted. So again, to get the highest score on this portion of the rubric, you need to make sure that you're using at least these 3 Blue Ocean tools. And there are actually at least 5 more, so you can always feel free to include more. But the main idea of the Blue Ocean tools is to compare your business idea to others and why yours is the best. So going back, a couple of resources you can use to make your video are iMovie, Canva, Google Slides. If you want to insert the drawing, that's how you can make your Blue Ocean strategy tools. And you can also use animated options or animate your own video, whatever you want. But remember, you're not going to be judged on how great you can create a video. Instead, you're going to be judged on whether your idea is clear to comprehend, if we can hear your video, and if your idea is well communicated. So for further resources, you can use the past webinars if you were unable to join. There is a link, everything is on the website. So if you want to go to blueoceancompetition.org, resources for participants, everything is right there. If you scroll down, you can find a link, YouTube links to all the past webinars. Again, you can go through the mini course, and we have a really, really nice template that you can use. On the website, there is a template for your slides, which is what your video can be consisted of, just simple slides, which is what a lot of our participants do. And we also have a pitch template. So the difference is that one is going to be a Google Slides, and the other is a Google document that you can use to create your script. We do recommend you create a script so that your pitch will be organized. And your pitch template has also everything you need to be successful in your video, and we can look at that a little later. So some final tips that are very, very important would be to first keep in mind that the video is only 5 minutes. If you go to our website and go to the past winners, you would see that even Universo, who was our 2022 winner, in their interview, they said that it was very difficult to get all parts of their idea expressed in 5 minutes, which is why we recommend making a script for your video. And we also have a script template for how your pitch could flow, also on the website. Also, the video should not exceed 1 gigabyte. And you can always ask for help or clarify your questions. We have a submission email area on our website, again in the resources participants page. And you can always DM us on our Instagram, which is a great place if you want some fast replies. And also repost us on Instagram and be engaged with our content. Finally, avoid talking for more than 1 minute on your problem and explaining what your problem is, why your problem is important. Because you still have only 4 minutes to explain your idea and importantly get to all parts of the rubric, including using the Blue Ocean tools. So finally, you want to avoid not including the mandatory Blue Ocean competition tools because that is a very easy and fast way to get yourself disqualified. But we also recommend that you do compare the value of your idea to other ideas and enhance the Blue Ocean product market fit. Explain why this target market that your solution helps is very important and profitable, because this is the Blue Ocean entrepreneurship competition, so you should have a business model that could work. Also, you need to make sure you stick to the rubric, but also get creative with your storytelling. So just because we have these templates for you and a little template for how your pitch may want to work does not mean that you have to stick to this method. Finally, We encourage you to use technology, even create a physical prototype, or draw out a prototype, whatever is applicable to your idea, so that the judges can visualize your idea. And this is probably a very, very big one. Include research and make sure that your idea is backed with some kind of evidence that it can work in case you do not have a prototype, and to explain the different scientific aspects of your innovation. Finally, do come up with a business model. How is this idea going to make money, or will it not make money? Because we do have a social good category. Finally, are you going to be using one-time purchases, donations, subscriptions? How are you making that money? So now we are going to have a Q&A session, or before our Q&A session, Ishan, you can introduce the ambassador program.
Yep. Hi, everyone. As I mentioned before, I'm Ishan. I'm happy to help with the Q&A and anything. So our ambassador program is open to all current high school students, as well as previous participants and alumni of the competition. Essentially, what you should do is sign up today and receive your ambassador kit. And you can look on the website. We have a resources page for all participants. And then you can look at what our ambassadors are currently doing. For example, what I've been doing is I run a club in my school, and we introduced the Blue Ocean competition, and we teach the Blue Ocean strategy tools and concepts. And what we've done is taken pictures of what we're doing, and posted that on the website. So you can definitely join the ambassador program. There are different points values that you can earn depending on the things that you do in your community and also globally. So just definitely check that on the website as well. And I just want to add something just based on what Shivani was talking about. If you want to go back to that that previous slide, I was just going to add on that we have a lot of resources on our website. So in the past, winners have emphasized that they've really like delved deep into their website and the pitch resources that we have. So for example, we have the judging rubric on this website, and we also presented it on these slides today. But what you may not know is that our judging rubric also has the categories and exactly what Blue Ocean tools you can use to further enhance your pitch within that category. So for example, there's impact potential, which is, how can you reach your target market? How can you make sure that your product is worth it and you can reach a large impact? So the 3 tiers of non-customers is a perfect Blue Ocean tool to use if you want to show that you can expand your market and you actually have a viable business model. So there's different tools that you can use, and the judging rubric tells you which tools you can use for each category. So our website is very helpful in terms of that. So if we want to move on to Q&A, and then we're going to also do breakout rooms after that.
So now is a great time. If you have any questions, you can unmute or you can put it in the chat so that we can answer some of your questions.
Hey, I'm Vaishnav. Hi, Ishan, Shivani. I'm with Lookup, with Samin and Andreas. They're also in here. And I just had a quick question about the strategy canvas. And so I know it was mainly about like the offering level. So I know like I was looking through like the examples that you have on the website, and it kind of talked about like how it's like a 5-point system and how you should be basically categorizing yourself and your competitors inside of those 5 points. But I was just kind of confused on some of like the non-numerical stuff, how you would proceed to do that, since some stuff like performance and other things, it's kind of difficult to categorize them in a numerical sense. So do you have any advice on how to do that?
Yeah, so Shivani, you want to go or should I?
You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of like those factors, the offering level is really more of a arbitrary point where you can put yourself as higher than your like the red ocean industry if you're higher than them in that category. So for example, in price level, that can be sort of numeric, but like you want to show that you're like you cost less than your competitors, right? But you mentioned performance, and if you want to give an example of a specific factor, I can help out in that way too. Like, what's a specific factor that you were looking at?
Yeah, so one of the main ones was like business applications or just overall consumer viability, like like some sort of stuff that I like it would be hard to like
Yeah.
categorize all like yeah.
No, that's definitely a valid concern. And in the past, competitors have just been putting an arbitrary number, putting an arbitrary like value there, and you just show that you're higher than your consumer and that in those applications. So, or than your competitor in those applications, because preferably you would be better than your competitor or your red ocean industry at a certain offering, right? Because that's your unique value proposition. So it's more than anything, it's the strategy canvas is more of a qualitative look on your unique value proposition and your competitive edge. So
Okay, so it's kind of like how we see ourselves versus our competitors and have to
exactly.
be competing, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
essentially
Thank you
in the
so much.
blue ocean strategy, you're creating you're making your competition irrelevant, right? You're creating your own niche
Mhm.
market. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Shivani, if you
okay.
want to show this. Yeah. There's an example here too.
So on the website, we have like the little step-by-step tutorial on how you can draw the strategy canvas. I can put the link in the chat if you would like. But the important part to include on your strategy canvas is to identify like any key competitive factors for your industry. So this may not need to be as numeric, rather just focus on, as you can see, these are qualitative. So I guess
Yeah, yeah, I'm seeing that. Yeah. That was kind of, yeah, since I got the point like where I'm kind of looking at just how we would perform and how we view ourselves compared to others, even though it's not numerical.
And even if this tool does not like completely convey all of your competitive advantages, you can use the other tools on the website too. But thanks for asking your question. Any other questions? All right, so if there are no further questions, then remember you can always reach us on Instagram or our email. And so that will be all for this webinar today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this. And thank you for clarifying on the editing, how that wouldn't really be a full factor, because we were worried, we're passionate about it, but none of us have the editing skills. So we just wanted to make sure we wouldn't be penalized for that aspect. So thank you for covering that.
Yeah, no problem. And also just to your point about editing, if you see the chat, I put one of our other executive members made a blog post on different like powerful like platforms you can use to create your pitch. So if you ever want to like maybe if you have an anecdote in the beginning and you want to use Powtoon, or if you want to use like something else other than Google Slides, you can definitely use this. But in the end, it's all about the content and also making sure that you're clear in your pitch. As long as we can hear you and it's not sped up or something. Oh yeah,
Awesome.
so
Yes.
someone else, Davey had a quick question. If our product is more for social impact, is it okay not to focus on the profit part of your business model? So Shivani,
Sure. So obviously, nonprofits still need to generate revenue so that they are self-sustaining. The thing about nonprofits is that whatever revenue that they do generate, they essentially need to have a profit of zero. So they have to also spend that money. And if your nonprofit has no funding, that may be a problem. So you do want to focus on how your nonprofit could potentially do fundraisers, but also give that money away in case you do want anything. But the business model is important. So you could talk about how your nonprofit would be able to fund your certain ideas. But the main important parts is to make sure that you use the Blue Ocean strategy tools to make sure that your nonprofit does have value, even if it cannot generate a certain profit. Does that make sense? Okay. And actually, you can take a look at, I think it was Groundify, maybe our 2020 social pitch, social good winner. They did a great job in communicating how their business would still make profit. And yes.
So Shion asked in the pitch template on the website, I'm assuming there wasn't a section explaining estimated and current revenue. Do we still need to include it? I think just my first thoughts on this is that what Shivani was mentioning is more so explaining that you have a business model and using the Blue Ocean tools to show that you can potentially expand your market. But then more so like you need the technical feasibility, which is a production. How do you produce your product? How do you distribute your product? So all those basics are needed, but like you don't need it would always help to have estimated and current revenue, but it's in the past pitches, in past winner pitches, you can see that not all of them have like, oh, we estimate to we're already starting our revenue service, we're already generating revenue and we expect to hit this amount in next year. So it's more of like the qualitative aspect around it, like what is your business model, how do you distribute your product to your consumers, how do you expand your market using the 3 tiers of non-customers, and all the blue ocean tools that come with that. So just to answer your question. Did I answer your question? Or wait, if anyone else has any other questions.
Also, I would like to add for your question that it might be hard to find your market value if that's what you could do. But you can always search up the market size, and from there you can try to break down that number, divide it into 12, or try to take an annual number, or look at an industry closest to whatever your solution is, or look at a business closest and try to estimate if we had a certain amount of sales, I guess, in a week, then how much would I have in a month? And then you can go from there. So you might need to do some calculations on your own. Ishan, were you saying something?
No, I was just, if anyone else has any questions.
Okay, I think that's all. If there are no more questions, you know where to reach us. And thank you for joining. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for this very helpful Zoom meet.
Thank you for coming.